Welcome to this week's edition of Your Manchester with me, Ms. Belinda Scandal. We have got a fantastic show lined up for you this Sunday evening. Yes, we're talking about fantastic oddities. Now, within that, we're going to be looking at the 50 years of the Rocky Horror Show and also talking about backpacking with Marcus Proctor. And speaking about oddities as well, we're going to be rambling with The Rudd. It's all going on for you on this week's edition of Your Manchester. But first, we're going to be looking at the Rocky Horror Show. Now, that started off in a very, very small theatre 50 years ago. And today, it's one of the biggest musicals around. That's right, it's been seen by over 30 million people. To tell us more about that show and its current incarnation and its current tour, we're speaking to actor Richard Meek. Welcome to the show, Richard. How are you?
I'm great. Lovely to be here.
It's amazing. 50 full-on years of the Rocky Horror Show. Now, we should say you've been involved in some massive musicals already, not to mention Spamalot and Hairspray, and now you are taking on this iconic role of Brad. And are you excited?
I am. This part, I actually first played it when I was 23 years old, and I'm 40 now, so it's like coming back to the family, really.
Yeah, I mean, you start off this show. Everybody already knows the ending. Everybody already knows what the songs are, what is coming. Yeah. Why are people stuck with this for 50 years if they already know how it all goes?
So I think it's like there's something about the experience of being in a theatre watching Rocky that is unlike anything people ever experience. It's like you're in an audience with 2,000 people and you're all completely united in the same experience, along with us on stage. We're all having the same experience, and it's different every single night. And I think that sense of letting loose and being is probably quite addictive. Well, it certainly brings me back time and time again. So I can imagine as a Rocky fan, it's something they can't resist.
You go through a story. There is a story. Perhaps you could just give everybody a brief outline of what the story of the Rocky Horror Show is.
Of course. So Richard O'Brien's a huge fan of like sci-fi B movies. So the premise of the story basically is Brad and Janet are a young couple, and they're on their way home from a friend's wedding, and their tyre bursts, so they need to go for help to use a telephone. And they stumble upon this extraordinary world. It's, for all intents and purposes, a mad scientist, they believe, who has created a man. And it's the experience of awakening for the characters, Brad and Janet, in this castle. And it's crazy.
And it is an awakening, especially for our Brad, who, bless him, starts off the show looking ever so virginal, and by the end of it, well, not so much so.
Yeah. When I start in so many layers, buttons and bow ties and socks up to my ankles and all this kind of stuff. And, very quickly I'm wearing just pants and a vest. And then by the end of Act 2, I'm in fishnets and a corset, which is fantastic, and heels. So I think the audience, enjoy those Brad and Janet so much because we're spectators as well. So it's like we are part of the audience, so they can allow themselves to come along with us and have this sort of sexual awakening of being free and being able to do what you want to do rather than just dream about it. Don't dream it, be it.
And you speak of don't dream, just be it. Of course, by the end of that, Brad, like you say, starts off wearing quite a lot. By the end of it, he is fully wearing the most wonderful basque and the most wonderful pair of heels. How have you managed to cope with that?
In films where a guy, some big old butch straight guy, puts a pair of heels on and they're stumbling about like a little Bambi, I think that's probably a little bit of classic toxic masculinity, because I mean, personally, I put them on and I felt like I was wearing my slippers. I was loving every minute of it. I mean, that might say more about me, but...
Not wrong with that at all. And we go back to the movie. The movie was very successful. Richard O'Brien, as you said, was in it, and Tim Curry. But the song that you sing within this show, your main big solo with Deep Heart and everything, wasn't in the movie. You get to do it now. Tell us more about that song.
So it's called Once in a While, and it's actually, apart from I'm Going Home, it's the only ballad in the show, and it's Brad's moment of feeling at his lowest, having feels like he's lost Janet, but then through the song realises that actually it's going to be fine. Richard actually wrote it. He was teaching his housemate when he was younger how to play the guitar. So some very simple chords created the song, which then became part of the film. It was filmed for the movie, but then it was taken out. Must be a time constraint, or it didn't fit with the flow of the film. So actually on the DVD, if you've got the DVD, it's a bit old school, but you can find in the... It actually exists and you can watch it. Barry Bottom on the end of a bed in his dressing gown, bless him.
And it's a very beautiful song. I think the two songs that you mentioned there are the two songs that give the show its heart and its stableness within the story of what basically is chaos, isn't it, really?
Yeah, they're I guess, the two moments in the show and the reprise of science fiction at the very end that the whole show is this big spectacle of excitement, and they're two moments that ask you to just take a minute and think and listen and amongst all of the chaos. But I'm Going Home is just, I lose myself in it when I watch Stephen sing it every night. It's just one of my favourite songs of all time.
And of course, when you come to the end of this show, how are you feeling knowing you've gone on this story arc? And what is it that you think perhaps these days the Rocky Horror Show is saying to people?
I would always say it's about acceptance, even though maybe the show isn't necessarily about accepting everybody. It's as much about the experience of being in the audience and being free to express yourself in any way you want, whether it's Brad singing a love song, or whether it's a transvestite alien singing about wanting to make the perfect man. I think it's just the message is be bold, love, accept, tolerate, and have fun, I think.
Well, that's fantastic. We look forward to seeing this. We are going to be right, the button, the better phrase, right behind this one and watching it as it does happen here in Manchester. For now, though, thank you, Richard, so much for your time.
It's been lovely. Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, then, from the Rocky Horror Show to Rambling with Rudd.
Well, so far, I've been to Shaw, I've been to Littleborough, and I've been to Oldham. Well, today, I've come further afield. I've come to Ashton. And it's all right having a good walk by yourself, but sometimes you need a friend when the chips are down to make you smile. And look where I am today, and look who I'm with today. None other than my very good friend, Mark Llewellyn.
Are you ready to ramble?
I'm always ready to ramble.
Well, I thought that. I've heard you rambling a lot.
What does Stamford Park mean for you?
Well, I'm lucky because it's near to where I live, so
Yeah.
it's a good place to come for a walk.
Yeah.
But it also has a bit of history. So it opened in 1873. There used to be a big house here, Highfield House.
Okay.
So these were the gardens.
Lovely.
And because of that, you've got kind of little areas that were part of the gardens,
Yeah.
or that have been placed here from around the borough of Tameside. So just down there is the dingle. Over there some birds and sort of areas with statues, and there's the stocks and things like
Okay.
that. So it's quite nice for a walk because there's lots to look at.
Don't take me near the birds though.
So this is down kind of a little valley.
Yeah.
You're going to like the name of the little river that runs through here
Oh, what is it?
because I know you. It's Cockbrook.
Oh, Cockbrook.
Yeah.
Oh, I do like that.
Yes, it's like lots of little areas with stones and things, little grottos.
Oh, I love things
When
like
this was
that.
built, they would have hero shows, music concerts and things like that down here.
Oh, really?
In the grotto, because it was kind of like an Italian sunken garden.
Oh, brilliant.
Not quite as it was now, but
Yeah.
but it's still a lovely little place. So I quite like this, don't you? When it's frosty,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it's nice blue sky and a bit of sun out.
And I have to tell you, I've been wearing wellies all week and I've got my walking boots on today and I'm really scared of slipping.
Well, they're high heels, love. We're now in the dingle, as we said,
Yeah.
which is kind of this grotto-y area.
Yeah.
So up behind us, sort of to the north of the park, that was the Chadwick Dance. So there's
Okay.
a couple of big lakes up there,
Yeah.
and there's a very famous boat, the Stamford Bell, that you can go on trips
Oh.
on the boat.
We haven't got time to go on that bell, so I'm not going on a
It is a
boat.
bit icy today, anyway, you'll have to go skating.
Yeah.
And then the water comes down here through all these like ornamental ponds and things.
Yeah, yeah.
And when this was built, there were mills at this end, where
Okay.
the dingle is. As
Yep.
I said, there was a big house up there, Highfield House. And then the idea was that this is halfway between Ashton-under-Lyne and Staley Bridge. So
Yep.
this was kind of somewhere for the mill workers to go to.
Okay.
And there would be brass band concerts, and there were all kinds of things going on here. The house was a museum and that kind of thing. And then
Lovely.
over time, all these big kind of Victorian and Edwardian houses and streets that surround the park were built. And each one is named after someone who campaigned or gave money
Oh,
to build
brilliant.
the park.
Do you know what? Hearing the water and everything behind us, that's very calming, isn't it?
I don't know, it makes me want to go to the loo.
Does
Doesn't
it?
it? But I'm older than you, it's an old man's problem. When the tulips are out in the spring, they have Tulip Sunday, which is a special event with lots of events centred around the tulips.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah. So, and you know, tulips are the most romantic flowers.
Well, I
Did you
don't
know
know.
that?
I don't know because I'm still single.
Oh,
you know,
get
so-
over it. Stop going on about it, for goodness sake. Right. I've got one last thing to show you.
What's that?
Can you hear something?
I can, and I don't think I'm going to like it, Belle.
There's only one way to get over your fear of birds. And
What?
that's have
How's
a
that?
chicken on your head, isn't it?
No,
Come on.
no, please send help. I don't think I'm going to be very long in here. I don't like it.
Oh, well, fair enough. I mean, we're at the end of the walk anyway.
Yeah.
Yes.
I really hope you've enjoyed the ramble.
Well, it's been all right, to be fair. Would have preferred it on my own. But there we are. Now, do I get paid now?
I'll pay you with a cake and a coffee.
Well, that's
How
not going to
about
put flames on the fire, is it?
So I really hope you've enjoyed the ramble as well, here at Stamford Park in Ashton, in Staley Bridge. Where will I be next week? Find out, only on Your Manchester. And it's now time to go back to the studio.
Well, it's one thing to be rambling, but what about if you spend 6 years backpacking? Sure, there's going to be many stories there. Now, our next guest is joining us all the way from Australia. His name is Marcus Proctor. And my oh my, has he got some stories for us. Welcome, Marcus. Now, you've got one very interesting book that's out at the moment, and I've had a little skim through it in the last few hours, and, well, perhaps give people an idea of what the book is all about.
It's in a nutshell. It's I was in Sydney, and everything wasn't really gelling anymore, and there was a problem with my boyfriend and everything. So I just kind of left, and I just wanted to get away. So I ended up getting my passport, and I got a visa for the UK, and I just thought I would be gone for like a year and come back, and it ended up being 6 years that I ended up being a backpacker going around the world.
And, I mean, there's some stories in this book about your time backpacking and everything. For you, what was...
Manchester is full of bees, bumblebees, honeybees, statues of bees, pictures of bees, paintings.
And me, Busby.
You may have noticed a big buzz around your Manchester, and now we can tell you why. Joining the Your Manchester family is Busby, a young upstart in the world of showbusiness. From not-so-bumble beginnings, Buzz fell on hard times.
Being the son of a queen, well, I had sky-high expectations, but when I found out my job was just to feed her honey so she could get all fat and sassy, well, I had to go out and find myself and pursue a career in show business. while exploring the jungle of red brick and limestone known as Manchester. Well, I got caught in an heavy rainstorm. I thought that was it, the end of me buzzy little life. But then I was rescued by the queen of show buzzness herself, Miss Belinda Scandal. She spoon-fed me sugar water and this little blue pill, and well, look at me now, I'm nice and big. Now I was starting to feel better. We got talking. I was taught microphone technique, how to handle a crowd, and how to dress in the finest sequins. And now there is no queen I would rather serve, and she feeds me honey.
Busby, coming to your Manchester soon.
Well, our Steve Stockton has been out and about. He's been looking at this beautiful production, Madama Butterfly.
Hello, Stephen here, and last night I spent a night at the opera. Manchester Opera House played host to Opera International's award-winning Ellen Kent production of Puccini's Madama Butterfly, featuring the Ukrainian Opera and Ballet Theatre Kyiv. I'm a huge fan of classical music and opera, and I've seen other productions of Madame Butterfly before, and so I was really looking forward to seeing this particular production of what is considered to be one of the greatest operas ever written. Madame Butterfly is one of opera's most enduring tales of unrequited love. Puccini's poignant score follows the tragic tale of Chow Chow-san, a young Japanese girl who falls in love with an American naval officer with devastating consequences. For musical theatre fans, this story might sound familiar, as Miss Saigon is loosely based on the Madame Butterfly story. Whilst over 2 hours of an opera sang entirely in Italian might sound a little daunting, there are English subtitles to help. I must admit I left the theatre a little disappointed. The orchestra felt under-rehearsed, the singers weren't the best I've seen perform this opera, and the usually heartbreaking story seemed to get a little lost in translation. The placing of the surtitle screens so high above the stage also meant you could either watch them or the action on stage, and not both. Given these productions usually sell out, and the rapturous applause at the end of last night's performance, maybe I was the odd one out this time. This weekend sees Ellen Kent productions of Puccini's La Bohème and Verdi's Aida both at the Opera House, before they embark on a UK and Ireland tour. For dates at venues near you and for tickets, check out ticketmaster.co.uk.
Well, that's it for another fantastic show of Your Manchester. Join us on Wednesday when we will be looking at Mamma Mia, plus loads more. Stick around. Make sure you tell everybody all about Your Manchester!